The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. I want to discuss something that a few people have emailed me about lately. And a lot of people are aware that Marxist economist Richard Wolff was a college professor of mine years ago at the University of Massachusetts. And I get many questions from people saying, in high school, in econ, even AP econ, you really only learn what we call capitalist economics colloquially, right? The idea that we have resource distribution, scarcity, supply and demand, and a free market that works perfectly well, price floors, the Keynesian ideas, etc. You're not really getting alternative economic theories in college unless your college offers a class on Marxian economics, like the University of Massachusetts did when I was there. You're not going to get exposed to that either. Shouldn't schools be teaching more than just capitalist economics? And the answer is absolutely. The problem is these economics have become so stigmatized, right? If you have a course in advanced placement economics in high school, and it's half traditional economics, what we would call traditional neoclassical Keynesian type economics, whichever flavor you like, and then half alternative economic theories, people will go nuts. People will say, you're teaching kids to be predisposed to be communist, blah, 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 blah. And of course, the reality is, if presented with multiple economic theories, you were drawn to one that is not the vulture capitalism that we have, maybe we should pay attention to that. And many people will say, the problem, David, is in high school and college, kids hear about this stuff. It sounds so good based on the lack of development that the brains have when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. You're going to distort people's minds at at an age where their minds are so pliable, and you're going to send them in the wrong direction, where really ultimately they would always come back to neoclassical standard economic theory. I don't know that that's true. I mean, I think that by college, you're able to make some pretty good judgments about some things. Yeah, it's hard to think about when you're 21, what is it going to be like to be 55 and potentially have kids? I mean, I can't even imagine what that potentially would be like. And I'm not nearly 55. But I don't think that we should be not teaching alternative economic theories because it would be considered indoctrination. Teaching only neoclassical economics is arguably indoctrination as well, because you're saying, hey, listen, this is the standard. Any crazy stuff you hear about later, that's what you should be skeptical of. You should be just as skeptical of neoclassical economics.
And I was told something that's entering the field of economics is this term called happiness. And it's very intangible, but at some point in some cultures and some people are valuing it much higher than money. And as it should be. Like, if you're making $1 million and you're miserable, why are you doing that?
What good is that? Yeah, no. The entire happiness economics field is growing. The behavioral economics field is growing, although it's not really related to economic systems, but it is in the sense that learning about behavioral economics helps us understand what elements of our economic system do and don't make sense. And this relates to everything from, the paradigm of work connected to so many other areas of life. And in many ways, it is connected. Now, from a purely practical perspective, some people will say, well, capitalist economics is the predominant economic system of the world, and thus it should be the focus. Okay, well, maybe economic history should be more prevalent, and these alternative theories are being taught as historical realities. I don't know, but the point I have is that we have a self-fulfilling prophecy or a vicious circle where kids imagine that there's going to be no alternative to capitalist economics, in part because it's all that they're taught about. And I think that's where there's a big opportunity.
Yeah, and we are a partially socialistic state. We have programs in which we are providing our people through our tax dollars back to these people. And I am in the camp that we should be doing more of this. We should be spending, say we take one of the many trillions of dollars we waste on defense budgets. Yeah. If we poured that into our education, and healthcare systems, I feel like they might be free.
Oh, it's perfectly logical. And I've said it, the mini story I tell is, we've got 50 military bases in Germany. Could we be just as safe with 25 military bases in Germany and taking the cost of the 25 we could close and putting them to other things? And of course the answer is yes.
why are we protecting Germany? Is there some
Well,
imminent
we're
threat?
not. I mean, really, those are there supposedly for strategic reasons because of the placement in terms of the conflicts that we could potentially be involved in there. But you're making a very good point, which is if the idea is really the protection of America and its interests abroad, we could probably be just as safe with 25 German bases in Germany as we would with 50. A couple other stories I want to talk about. India's richest man is going to pay 20 billion bucks, or at least roll out a $20 billion mobile network with a lot of his own money, which could bring 4G internet to hundreds of millions of people in India. This is Mukesh Ambani. He is rolling out a service called Reliance Jio. I think that's how it's pronounced, Jio. Maybe it's Reliance Jio. And it is, the goal is to get 4G internet to hundreds of millions of people. This is a network that currently reaches 80% of India, and it went live a few days ago. And the idea is that it will ultimately reach 100% of the country. So my reactions are more internet for more people. This is good. The internet is a democratizing force. Unrestricted access to the internet, not what you see in China, is a very good thing. How could anyone be against that? The caveat, anytime you hear about a rich person or a very big company providing internet for everybody, remember the Facebook initiative. Facebook's, I don't know if it was like facebook.org or internet.org. Anyway, Mark Zuckerberg had this idea of getting free satellite internet to many, many countries. Of course, it would be heavily skewed towards directing people in those countries to very specific websites. Facebook would be a big beneficiary. There would also be ways in which specific companies would be able to market directly in a way that is relatively invasive, not just a banner ad on the websites you go to, but it would be systemic advertising and product placement. And you could make the argument, listen, you're getting free internet. If you have to look at some ads, that's okay. That's fine if you consider it a for-profit venture. But when you hear someone say, I'm going to give free internet to all these people, and it's for the good of the world, but it's going to be monetized with ads that are going to be really difficult to avoid, and you're going to have to use our software that we develop, and it'll be sort of a limited and constrained internet, that's when I have a little bit of a problem with it. And I get it. The beggars can't be choosers is an often term that's used, but just be upfront and say, you're creating a business opportunity in which you will give free access in exchange for user metadata, product placement, advertising, etc. Just be more upfront about it. Don't say that it is merely something you're doing out of the goodness of your heart. That's where I have a problem with it.
Yeah, this gentleman did not get this $20 billion by not making money to begin with, and he obviously has a larger scale plan here where he's going to be making probably 5-6 fold on this.
And it may not be related to this project, right? It may be that being known as the guy who put this project together will allow him to do who knows what. And you know what? I don't have a huge problem with that if truly what we're talking about here is just giving people internet because you're empowering them. You are allowing them to get more information that is out there that they wouldn't get. Later, if you become so well known for that you get some great deal on the back end for something else, I truly think that's okay. I really don't mind that. The problem I have sometimes, and I'm not making the accusation in the specific case in India, is oftentimes the real intention is sort of hidden, and that's what we should seek to avoid. One more quick story. President Barack Obama said that the U.S. has an obligation to help Laos recover from a brutal secret bombing campaign that destroyed parts of the country. And during an address during his trip to Asia, President Obama said the U.S. is going to put $90 million in a 3-year project with the country's government to clear out tens of millions of unexploded U.S. bombs. I'm completely in favor of this. And when it's your country, even if it's not your doing, right? It wasn't Obama who put all of these bombs there. If it's your country's doing, $90 million, given the amount we spend on, as you alluded to earlier, defense spending, military bases, bombs, rockets, etc., this is the right thing to do. I support it. There are so many other areas where the $90 million could be made up. And this has been a problem in other countries too. I mean, hasn't this been... Is it Cambodia and or Vietnam that have had issues of unexploded mines? I believe Vietnam or Cambodia. I wish I'd thought to look it up. In any case, don't kill me in the email. It is one or both of those countries. Do you have any doubt that this is absolutely the moral responsibility of the U.S. to take care of this?
Well, one thing I would say was I'm sure Katrina Pearson would disagree with you on Obama being at fault here, because anything happened in 1994 and before is definitely Obama's fault.
Yeah, right. In the Trump PR representative world, actually, things that happened a very, very long time ago are directly related to Obama. Not only things that happened before he was president, even things that happened before he was born, if you were in the world of Trump, could be potentially blamed on President Obama. I think this is good. Do you have any problem with the spending, the $90 million?
Well, we shouldn't, I don't think we should have been there in the first place. We should have been dropping these bombs. We shouldn't be fighting wars all over the world. But should we clean up our mess after we make it? Okay, fine.
Any statute of limitations on that? Because this is really the question with ISIS, right? Which is, yeah, ISIS was created in the vacuum of the invasion decided on by George W. Bush. So President Obama does have some responsibility to keep fighting ISIS. Can we put a final date on it? Or is it, if you broke it, you own it until it's fixed type of thing?
Yeah. And regarding the Middle East whole thing, I had a history professor in probably roughly, I want to say 1995, one Mr. Iramian, who told us that when Saddam Hussein was removed from power, it's going to cause this huge backlash, because while despite he is a terrible human being, in that he was extremely oppressive and doing terrible things to all these people, at the same time, all these other people are just as crazy, and it's going to open this Pandora's box.
Well, that's what Donald Trump said, except when on the Howard Stern show, he said he was in favor of going into Iraq. So fortunately, Trump has taken the position that Mr. Mr. Iramian took in 1995. And in 2002, I believe it was, on the Howard Stern show, took a totally different position and now says he was always against it. He literally was for it before and after he was against it, to take a quote out of John Kerry's playbook. All right, thank you for being with me today. We will be back next week with a whole week of shows for you, kind of, except for our vacation. More about that next week.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.